Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I'll be drafting an off shoulder bustier pattern, and I'll be taking out 5 inches from my shoulder length. This is not a standard measurement. You can make yours 5 or 5.5 depending on how you want your neckline to drop, but for this pattern I'll be using 5 inches. So I'm just going to mark my chest line, which is my shoulder to my chest line, 8 inches. I'm going to mark 8 inches at this other point, and also mark 8 inches at this other point here, and I'm just going to connect those points with my ruler. After that, I'm going to mark my bust point, which is my shoulder to my bust point, which is 11 inches. I'm also going to mark 11 inches here. And for my under bust, I'll be taking 15 inches. My shoulder to my under bust, 15 inches. I'm just going to mark there and also mark 15 inches at this point. And I'm just going to connect those points with my ruler. I'm going to label this my bust line. Come over here, going to connect the points with my ruler and label it my under bust. So after this, I'm just going to mark my waistline, which is 17 inches. I'm going to mark 17 inches here, and also I'll also mark 17 inches here, and I'll connect the points with my ruler. So I'll be adding 2 inches allowance to this pattern. This is my waistline. So I'll be taking in my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4 inches, as you can see. So I'm just going to mark 4 inches at my bust, my under bust line, and also mark 4 inches at my waistline and also the end of the pattern, and also mark 4 inches at my bust line. Then for my neckline, I'll be marking 5 inches. I'll be marking 5 inches here. And I'm just going to connect those points with my ruler. I'm also going to confirm that point, 5 inches, and then connect the points together. After that, I'm just going to insert my dart measurement on my waistline. I'm going to take half an inch on both sides, half an inch on this side. Then on my under bust line, I'll be taking half and a quarter inch on both sides. Half and a quarter inch on both sides on my under bust line. Then at my allowance there, I'm also going to mark half an inch on both sides. I'm going to connect it to my waistline, and from the waistline I'll connect the points to my under bust line. After doing this, I'm just going to go down by 1 inch from my bust line and also go up by 1 inch on my bust line. So on that point, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect for my under bust, so the 1 inch I marked below my bust line, and I'm going to use my curve rule to make a curve at this other part. After that, I'll be connecting these points to my neckline, and on this point where I marked 5 inches, I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides. I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides, and I'm just going to connect that point I marked above my bust line to my neckline. So this is it, guys. After this, I'm just going to impute my bust circumference, which is 38 inches divided by 4 is 9.5 inches, which is here. I'm going to mark 9.5 inches. I'm also going to take the measurement I have there, which is 1/2 1/4 inch. First of all, I'm going to mark 9.5 inches, which is my bust circumference divided by 4, and also mark the measurement I have from that space there, and also add 1 inch for joining my sides together. This 1 inch is for joining this side and this other side together. Then I'll also take 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Just going to mark that point there. Then on my waistline, I'll be dividing my waist circumference by 4, which is 32 inches divided by 4 is 8 inches. I'll be adding 1 inch for my dart intake, which is here. I'll also be adding 1 inch to join the sides together, and after that I'll take 1 inch as my sewing allowance. I'm just going to connect the line I have on my chest line down to the end of my pattern, just like this. So for my neckline, I'll be using a neck width of 5 inches. This is depending on your size. Whatever is your bust span, add 1 inch to that and you get your off shoulder neck width. So mine is 4 inches. 4 inches plus 1 is 5 inches, and I'll be also adding 2 inches from that point there, which is 7.5 inches. Just going to mark 7.5 inches there, and I'll use my French curve to make my armhole curve for my off shoulder bustier. So for the neckline, I've not decided on what to do with it yet. You can make either a sweetheart neckline or just make a curve or circle neckline with it. So after this, I'm just going to cut my pattern out. I'm just going to cut out the excesses I have on the side. So guys, if you have any question regarding the front pattern, just drop a comment in the comment section and I'll do well to answer your questions. So this is the front pattern of my off-shoulder bustier, and we will just move over to the back pattern. So guys, for the back pattern, I've already marked out my zipper allowance, which is 2 inches. I'm just going to take away 5 inches from my shoulder length and also mark my chest line and connect the point. After that, this is my chest line. I'm just going to mark my bust line 11 inches, mark my under bust, which is 15 inches, and mark my waistline, which is 17 inches. I'm also going to add 2 inches sewing allowance at the end of this pattern. This is my bust line, this is my under bust, this is my waistline, and that line is the end of my pattern. So guys, on my bust line, I'm going to mark 4 inches, which is my bust span, mark 4 inches on my under bust, and also 4 inches on my waistline, and also at the end of my pattern. And I'm just going to connect those points. I'm also going to go 1 inch above my bust line and connect the points together. Then on the waistline, I'm just going to go in by half an inch on both sides and connect the points to the point where I marked 1 inches above my bust line. And on the chest line, I'll be taking my bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9.5 inches, and 1 inches for my sewing allowance. And for the waistline, I'll be marking 8 inches, which is 32 divided by 4, and also replacing my dart intake, which is 1 inch, and adding 1 inch as my sewing allowance. And I'm just going to connect those points together with my ruler. I'll go over to my neckline. I will be marking 5 inches for my neckline and adding half an inch for sewing. And I'm just going to make my armhole curve with my French curve. For the back neckline, I'll be going down by 1 inch and also make a curve like this for my back neckline. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. I'm going to cut out my neckline. So this is my pattern. I'm going to open up my zipper allowance. And this is my back pattern. And this is my front pattern. So guys, this is the end of this video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in my next video.